Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. We are here. It is Sunday. It's week 12, and we are ready to go.
Yeah, welcome to our Sunday week 12 preview show. It is good to have you here. We have a great show for you today. We have a great show for you today. First, we're going to go over the Bills versus the Texans game on Thursday night. What could that mean for the Bills playoff and Super Bowl hopes? We're then going to go over our early window on Sunday, our late window on Sunday, Sunday Night Football, and Monday Night Football, picking all the betting spreads. So keep up with us for that. We're finishing off with our fantasy players to watch. Jay, for fantasy players to watch this week, I've got two. I've got one who's like a definite must start if you were thinking about not having him, on one that keep your eye on him. He could be the game changer to winning your fantasy league by the end of the season, and try and get in there before the trade deadline closes in your league. So stay with us for that. But Jay,
I didn't even realize fantasy football was still going.
It's Jay, in our league, it's the number one seed playoff today, which continues the feeling of rivals week, because the Dallas Cowboys are going up against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers are going up against the Minnesota Vikings. So big week for me and Jay in our supported teams as well. Jay, let's first go into Thursday night football, where the Houston Texans took down the Buffalo Bills 23 points to 19. Jay, after calling out the Bills 2 weeks ago, saying that Josh Allen needs to be freed from the Buffalo Bills, was this loss more on Josh Allen than on the Buffalo Bills organization?
No, I think it was the Texans played really fucking great defense. I think that's really what it was. The Texans defense balled out, and the Texans defense won that game for them.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, Jay. I think I've seen a lot of people coming on and saying that Josh Allen is terrible. You know, he threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Like he was put under pressure for the first time and he crumbled. And we saw the beginning of this against Tampa Bay. Shut up. Josh Allen is amazing. He sometimes does throw stupid interceptions when he's trying to make things happen. But the reason he was trying to make things happen is the Houston Texans defense is so good. To sack Josh Allen, I think it was 6 times. That is unheard of in the NFL to do to Josh Allen. And it was just them playing so well, Jay. That defensive line and the coverage sacks that they were getting as well. It's incredible. And Jay, are the Houston Texans a playoff threat after winning 3 in a row with their backup quarterback and this defense?
I don't think they're a playoff threat. And I also think when people start to say that Josh Allen's terrible, you should put your quarterback's name in parentheses at the end of that statement, and then we'll go from there judging quarterbacks, because I feel like there is really some fans out there with some bad quarterbacks still just bashing Josh Allen, and they would take Josh Allen in a heartbeat on their team. That's what I think.
Yeah, 100%. So
I think the Texans have a great defense, but I still think that they're really questionable on the offense. It's the offensive line, it's injuries, so I don't think that this year there's a playoff contender. And I think if for some reason they even squeaked into the playoffs, which is going to be rough in the AFC, I think they get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, they're currently 6-5. You've got to get at least to 10, and I can see them getting 4 wins out of the rest of the season in that wild card spot. I could see it happening. Do I think they've got what it takes when you get to the playoffs? No, like they just don't have it on the offensive side of the ball. I agree with you, and not every week you're going to catch Josh Allen in a way getting 2 interceptions, getting to him and sacking him 6 times. If they come up against an offensive juggernaut, they will struggle to keep up with the points. Their defense will keep you to below 20, but can you score 20 against a good defense? And Jay, they only scored 23. They only scored 23. The Buffalo Bills are one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and they only managed to score 23.
Yeah, and for me, I still got Kansas City making the playoffs, and I got Buffalo grabbing a wild card. That only leaves one wild card left open for all the AFC.
Yeah. So they could creep in, but if
But
you're
then
only putting
right, because you got the Chargers, and you know what I mean, and we can keep going through. But then it's starting to look. So now at the end, you're battling with the Jags, the Chargers. There's going to be all these teams. I feel like battling for one. Well, we could say two spots. You put Kansas City in there. There's going to be 5 teams battling for 2 spots because I really feel like the Bills will lock up one of those wild card.
Yeah, no, the Bills are only a game ahead of the Texans, but the Texans' next road is they've got the Colts in Indianapolis, they've got the Chiefs. That's going to be a huge game for wild card spots. They've got the Chiefs in Kansas City, and then they've got the Cardinals, Ravens, and Raiders, and then they've got the Chargers and the Colts. So they play the Chargers, they play the Chiefs. That's games that'll decide their wild card spot. Those games with the Chargers and the Chiefs, and if you think that they can go out and win it, great.
What I think if they beat the Chiefs, that puts them a leg up, though. Like, you know what I mean? Because the Chiefs are already struggling. And then you get that tiebreaker over the Chiefs. That really helps you in the wild card spot. If you can go out and even just beat the Chiefs, got a chance at that wild card.
Yeah, and I think with the Chiefs, I think it's they have the ability to go play with the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs actually have more on the defensive side of the ball than Buffalo do. And the Texans are fine. Like the Texans, they've got their wins through defense, but they got them. I mean, the game against the Jaguars was a crazy 4th quarter, but they only scored 16 points against the Titans, 15 points against the Broncos as well. So they've got those wins from kind of great defense, not putting up very many points. And when you come up against teams with even better defenses, they're going to really restrict those points that you go and get. And on that side of things, Jay, do the Buffalo Bills have enough defense to cause problems for teams when they get to the playoffs? Do they have enough defense to actually make it?
They do, because if you look when it comes to those best teams, they figure out how to win in close or shootouts, especially in the regular season. So if you take that over, like, it's weird because Kansas City, it feels like the Bills have, without looking at their records, it feels like the Bills has their number in the regular season, but the Chiefs have their number in the playoffs, right? So
yeah,
I feel like, they can get into a shootout with anybody and have just enough defense to win. But the problem is you have to be so hot and on your game in the playoffs to be able to win that way, right? You have to be on your game. Like, even if you go back to when the Giants won their Super Bowls, like, their defense had to play top notch and Eli had to play the best football of his career in those playoff games. So for them to get the win or to make a Super Bowl, I feel the Bills are kind of the same way. You got to have Josh Allen playing lights out the best of his career because the defense doesn't do anything to help him.
Yeah, and I think they have, they have an okay passing defense. So you have guys like, honestly, Bishop is one of the most confusing players I've seen because he makes amazing plays in the defensive safety game, but he's such a liability in the run. Do you know that the Bills have given up 5 40-plus runs so far? It's the most in the NFL, 5 40-plus runs, and they give up the second most yards in the NFL, and they give up the second most yards per carry in the NFL as well on the ground. They're so poor defensively in the run game that it means that Josh Allen has to go into shootout mode, and you're always going to struggle when your quarterback is forced into shootout mode. But if you have a quarterback to go into shootout mode, then Josh Allen is the guy. They unfortunately could not get it done for them against the Texans. I mean, for me, I picked the Texans on the spread in that game because I thought they'd be able to run the ball. And everybody listen to Tyrone, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well as we go into our Sunday predictions. And Jay, we're going to start off in Kansas City, where Kansas City are 3.5-point favorites against the Indianapolis Colts. Jay, has over the past 2 games, the Indianapolis Colts have got a win, but they've stuttered. Has Daniel Jones started to take a step back, and will that affect the Colts?
No, we're just getting in. I mean, will it affect the Colts that they're not playing the same as they were? Sure, a little, but it's not that I don't think Daniel Jones is taking a step back. I think this is the NFL, and teams really start to understand the schemes and what you're trying to do in your concepts when it halfway through the season. And then it gets tougher to win, and that's what we're seeing. But what the Colts have going for them, not only are they playing great on the defensive side of the ball, they have Jonathan Taylor. They have a great offensive line. That's always the best safety blanket for a quarterback. And Shane Steichen has proved, like, we beat him up over the Anthony Richardson shit, but he's proven that he's that guy that deserved that job coming out of Philly. He just had such an inept quarterback that it looked that bad.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones has 4 interceptions in the last 2 games and 6 fumbles. Not all of those lost fumbles in 2 games. I can't remember how many have been recovered. But that's what we knew that about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is actually playing to the level that Daniel Jones is. Like, we know that Daniel Jones can have those games where he's terrible. He's good enough to be deserving of a starting spot in the NFL, but he's probably arguing about being in the top 20 rather than arguing about being in the top 10, right? That's realistically where he is. But Shane Steichen has got him in a place where if he just plays simple football, they'll win football games because Jonathan Taylor's great, the offensive line is great, and Daniel Jones does have a good enough arm and has good big playability with his legs as well. So Daniel Jones is where Daniel Jones always was going to be. Like, he's not taking a huge step back. It's just somehow for the first few weeks of the NFL season, he was someone else. Like, he wasn't Daniel Jones. He was Indiana Jones at that point. Like, he was just someone else. But now he's just Daniel Jones again. This idea that he's going back to Pumpkin, it's like, no, he's just going back to who he was. It's just who he was not good enough for the Giants, but it is more than good enough for the Colts, right?
Well, if we had more time, I want to know the 9 quarterback or the 11 quarterbacks you think are better than him, or the 10 quarterbacks right now that are playing better. Because I think being in the top 20 is, I mean, and not the top 10 is a wild statement, because I still think Daniel Jones this year is playing top 10 football.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I was more kind of like just saying, you know, he's not pushing that top elite, but he is like very worthy of a starting job, and in that kind of realm as to where we always argued about like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, like that realm of like where people always change around and stuff like that as well. But Jay, going into this game and looking at the game itself. With another week in the defense, can Sauce Gardner become a lockdown for the Chiefs against the Chiefs? Tre'Davious Ward is also playing in this game, has also been cleared to start. So they have their 2 starting cornerbacks, with Sauce Gardner has got another week. Do you think they'll make a big difference for the Colts in this game trying to lock down the Chiefs? Yeah,
because I think Ward is your number 1, and you play with Sauce as your number 2. And I think, like, name a better duo right now in the NFL that feel like that comfortable with just putting on an island and being like, you two go do your thing while we throw the fucking house at the quarterback.
Yeah, of course. And like, it's ridiculous that they have those 2 cornerbacks in the same building and they went and got it by trade. I do really think that that's the big matchup. And Jay, then you look at the other side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes needs to put away this turnover problem that he has this season. 6 interceptions, but he has 16 turnover-worthy plays. That's 33rd in the league. And he's 3rd in the league in drop-back passes as well. So, you know, like, he is dropping back a lot. That could explain a lot, and he is having to do a lot more. But if Patrick Mahomes continues to make those turnover-worthy plays, you would imagine that's going to lead to more turnovers. Jay, what do you think Patrick Mahomes has to do in this game for the Chiefs to get the win?
Yeah, protecting the ball is a big thing. I also think Patrick Mahomes is in a place right now where he realizes his team isn't as good as they have been. And I think he's pushing. I think he's trying too much.
Yeah.
I think he's pressing the situations. He's creating these turnovers by just not being willing to just punt it away, because I think he gets frustrated that they're not moving the ball, they're not scoring. And when you're that talented, sometimes you're like, hey, I'm just going to go out there and do this, and then it becomes a problem. And now instead of fixing your regular football problems, you're fixing your problem with your elite quarterback pressing too much.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's definitely coming from a place of trying too hard. I don't think it's like he's all of a sudden lost what being Patrick Mahomes is. It's just he's trying too hard, which is leaving him into errant throws. And to make 16 turnover-worthy plays, like with PFF, like some of those turnover-worthy plays could be like, like they're uncatchable really, but like they're catchable by Derek Stingley maybe, but not everybody else. But to make 16 and to only have 6 interceptions, that's a pretty widespread thing. And there was that game against the Jags where I think he threw 5 and they got dropped. They all got dropped by DBs that should have been taken. So he needs to go in there and he needs to protect the ball, which is easier said than done when you feel you have to force it. But surely you just get to a point of Andy Reid, right? Trust Andy Reid. Andy Reid will get you to the open man as well. And I guess we'll see how that goes for them. Jay, we've already kind of spoken about the playoffs, but can the Kansas City Chiefs still make the playoffs if they lose this game? And if not, does it become a must-win? They have 6 games after this. They've got Dallas in Dallas. They've got Houston in KC. They've got the Chargers in KC. They've got the Titans in Tennessee. They've got the Broncos in KC. And they've got the Raiders in Vegas as well. So, the Cowboys, we don't know what they're going to be like. And the Cowboys in Dallas are a bit of a different animal as well. And then the Texans are showing. But do you think they can still lose this game and creep into the playoffs?
I think it'll be tough. I think that if they lose this game, they're almost looking at having to run the table. So it does become a tougher road to get there if you lose this game. I also think that I don't know why. I feel like you're going to have teams that fall apart, and I feel like the Texans are one of those teams we might watch fall apart down the stretch.
Yeah, you see it a lot of the time where the defense carries a team, right, and it eventually just stops happening. But I can see them still creeping in. For me, you've got to get to 10, especially if they're beating the Texans and they're beating the Chargers. Like maybe they need to get to 11 if they lose one of those games. But if they lose here, they've got 6 games. They need 5 wins. They're going to have to basically run the table to get into that wild card spot. So big game here. Jay, the Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites in this one on Thursday night. Guys, if you ever want to come and watch us on a Thursday night before the games, we pick our best bets. And me and Jay both pick the Colts at +3.5 for our best bets. Jay, are you staying with the Colts?
I am, but this next week we will be on Tuesday, not Thursday. Just a reminder for everybody because of Thanksgiving. Maddie forgets about Thanksgiving because he doesn't got shit to be thankful for next Thursday because he's not American.
Exactly. As an unpatriotic man, then I don't. As a non-freedom loving European, a big dirty commie European, I hate Thanksgiving.
Maddie, that's the first one you watch if you go watch that show I was telling you about. Brick Kids Try Thanksgiving Food.
Yeah, I mean, it is just the same stuff that we have for Christmas dinner, just with a few other things as well. But I am always jealous when I see that.
It is not. Wait till the motherfuckers see sweet potato casserole.
Jay, we're going to hit one of the huge spreads that we've got this week. The Tennessee Titans are going up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks at 12.5-point favorites. And Jay, to be honest, that spread doesn't seem like too much to me because I think this is a terrible matchup for Tennessee. So where I'm going to go with this is kind of like a bigger picture look at the Tennessee Titans. But Jay, does Cam Ward have to start showing us something before the end of the season? Or can we chalk up this whole season to him just being on a terrible team?
Yeah, I refuse to judge this kid off of what we're watching because of the horrible team that he's on. But with that said, this is how you ruin young quarterbacks also.
Exactly.
So, he is in a fucking horrible situation for him right now. We'll see if they can turn it around. You're in limbo with your coach. Your team is not that talented. You got the first overall pick struggling at quarterback because he's got no time to do anything. This is just a recipe for disaster. With this game, though, it's also can you stay in it by causing Sam Darnold to throw 4 turnovers, to throw 4 interceptions?
Yeah. I think that's the only hope, right? But with Cam Ward, the only thing I would say on this season is, could Cam Ward get the ball out faster? Like, could he help the Tennessee Titans by getting the ball out faster? His average time to throw is about 2.7 seconds. It was 3 seconds in the Brian Callahan offense, so he is getting quicker. When he's pressured, he's sacked 28.7% of the time, which makes him 38th in the NFL in terms of like how bad that is. Like, when he's pressured, he's sacked 28.7% of the time. His O-line are 23rd in the PFF ranking, 7th in pass blocking efficiency, though, but that's before week 9. For me, though, Jay, I think with Tennessee, scheme was the real issue in the first part of the season. Like, as I said when we were watching it, Brian Callahan took away every check down, every underneath route. There was nothing that Cam Ward could check down to. He was having to go down the field to his rookie wide receivers the entire time. There was nothing that he could get in there as well. So I'm going to chalk that up as well. And I agree with you. Hard to judge him on this season. Let's see what he's got into the next season. Jay, I think the big question, though, is for this spread, is the Seattle Seahawks defense just too good for Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee is awful. So even if they were playing with a backup quarterback right now, I would still take Seattle. I don't know about at 12.5, but I would still take Seattle. So I hate the 12.5 because junk time and teams shit the bed at the end. But I'm still going to take the 12.5 with the Seahawks because I do think the Titans are that bad. I think the Titans, even the small glimmers of hope we thought they might have with Tony Pollard and Ridley and all of that, do not seem to be working at all. Pollard seems to have lost a step, and Calvin Ridley never seemed to get right after his suspension.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a really bad matchup for Tennessee as well. I'm taking the 12. I'm taking the 12.5 on this one. I think with the way that the Seahawks play, with the way the Seahawks have their passing game, they have the highest yards per attempt in the NFL at 9.6 yards per attempt, which is crazy. Nearly 10 yards per attempt in the throwing game is insane. But on the defensive side of the ball, I just want to highlight just how good this Seattle Seahawks defense that Tennessee are about to walk into as well. They're joint third in yards passing per attempt at 6.2 yards. They're joint fifth in sacks in the NFL with 32 sacks. They're fourth in rushing yards with 935 rushing yards as well. And they're joint fourth in rush yards per attempt at 3.9, which is insanely good. They're top 5 in pretty much every defensive category. And the Titans are going to have to run into that. The only question, Jay, is, you've already mentioned it, Sam Darnold must not give the ball away. Like, he can't give the ball away in this game for the Seahawks to cover that spread. But we're both taking Seattle in that one. Jay, on to your Minnesota Vikings playing the bitter rival Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers are 6-point favorite. And before we start, Jay, who do you consider the Vikings' biggest rival? Is it Green Bay, or is it the Bears or Detroit?
No, it's Green Bay, hands down.
Yeah, because the Minnesota Wisconsin rivalry runs deep as well. But Jay, I think the biggest question in this game is, do the heavy pressure packages that we hope Brian Flores goes back to and that he's going to use, do they play for or against Jordan Love? I think Jordan Love has had the most up and down games whenever he's played against Minnesota. That back foot throw sometimes means he's very good against pressure. But what do you think? Do you think those heavy pressure packages work for or against Jordan Love in this game?
I think in this game, I don't know if you have to send that much because they're depleted, right? So it doesn't look like Jacobs is probably going to play this game. You got Reed out. They have a lot of injuries. Their tight end's been injured. So I don't get me wrong. You don't stop sending pressure, but I don't think this is a game where you have to throw pressure at Jordan Love the whole game to try to get him off his spot. I think right now you try to see if you can beat him with 4, get the pressure, because then you don't have to give up anything on the back end, because you shouldn't have to worry about the run game the way that you have been with the Packers when you have Jacobs. And like I've told you, the Vikings love to do run blitzes. So I don't think you have to do that as much with Jacobs there. So you can, if you can get pressure with 4, I think that's ideal, because then you can cover the back end and get a lot more, make it a lot longer day on Jordan Love.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what I didn't realize? So the reason I've got just so many stats today is because I had a really long bus ride this morning, so I'm really stat loaded after a 5-hour bus. But the Vikings are first in the NFL at causing pressure with non-blitz. Like, we all think of Brian Flores' defense as like this crazy blitz-heavy defense, right? But they're actually first in the NFL when only rushing 4, of 43% as well. So 43% of the time they get pressure, only blitzing 4, the Vikings. So you think of it's this heavy blitz package. And also, I kind of said it looks like Jordan Love is good under pressure because of the big playability. Like last week, he got 233 yarders basically thrown off the back foot under pressure. But the numbers don't back it up at all. He's 33rd in yards per attempt under pressure out of 35 quarterbacks. He's one of 4 quarterbacks without a touchdown under pressure. He hasn't thrown a single touchdown under pressure. Only 3 other quarterbacks haven't done that. And Jay, out of the 35 quarterbacks that have been pressured 50 times in the league, he's 32nd in passer rating under pressure as well. So it looks like he's good under pressure because he has these big plays every now and again. But actually under pressure, Jordan Love is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when he's under pressure. And the Vikings get more pressure than anyone else without having to blitz. And they send blitzes as well. Just for reference, JJ McCarthy is 19th and 26th in those categories as well for the JJ McCarthy haters out there. Jay, before we move on to JJ McCarthy, can we talk about why he's talking about his alter egos, and like, can we just pull him from doing press stuff for a while? Like, just tell him to just answer like questions, or are you happy with the way he's talking about his alter ego 9? And
he's been talking about that since college, though. People act like it's a new thing. It's just what he does. Like, and he's really into like meditation and like see it, believe it, achieve it type shit, right? That's really like his thing. So no, just do you. Like, I don't care about all that other shit. What I care about and want to know is, why is it when the game's on the line you can hit a receiver, and when it's not on the line you overthrow them? That's what we need to be focused on. His mechanics, not so much the 9 and his alter ego, because he doesn't say any clickbaity shit. So I don't know why people are even making a big deal out of this. We've heard so many NFL players say so much more crazy shit than him, and then people are like, oh, his alter ego's the issue. It's like, I don't think that's what he was saying. Yeah. I think he's saying that he's a really calm, laid-back person, and that he's somebody different when he gets on the field. We hear it from athletes all the time, like, oh, you turn it on when you're in between the white lines. He's just saying it different. Like, can you make fun of him for it? Absolutely. Do I think it's a big deal? Not at all.
He's a hardball quarterback. That visualization and like being a good guy off the field and the hardest foot guy on it is the hardball way of life, right? Like that's what they preach. And look, whenever I hear someone talking about an alter ego, like, that was me, that's my alter ego that takes over, I'm always like, oh, that's so fucking cringe. But like, I get it. Like, that's fine. Whatever gets you right. Saying the NFL is too hard to make throws like what you're doing, just a stupid thing to say, but that's not what he meant. Like, we all know that that's not what he meant. He just said the wrong thing as well. And then whatever meditation he's been doing to get his throwing mechanics right was interesting too. But with JJ McCarthy, obviously he has like the lowest completion percentage in the NFL. I think he's completing about 50% of his throws right now. But as you rightly said, he makes big time plays all the time. But Jake,
I think 54 with your hater ass. It's 54 with your hater ass.
I'm a defender. But
I know, but I didn't like that 4 points percentage points. I didn't like that.
I mean, also important to mention, he's only played 5 games. Some of those weren't very drop back heavy, and in the one that was drop back heavy last week, the Minnesota Vikings dropped. What was it? How many catches was it that they dropped last week?
9.
It's like 9.
I
Right?
counted 11, but officially it was 9. I counted 11,
yeah,
but
so,
it was officially 9. Yes.
So you think that completion percentage it goes up quite a lot considering has he thrown 100 passes in the NFL?
It's the guys who are fucking dropping them too, right? Like if Speedy drops one, if Jalen Naylor drops, okay, that just happens. We've watched this through his career. But when Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are dropping passes, when TJ Hawkinson drops one that hits you right in the hands, when your running backs are dropping passes, like this doesn't happen in Minnesota. Aaron Jones catches the ball. Mason catches the ball. You know what I mean? And some of these passes, I'm not saying that he played great because he didn't, and he's all over the place sometimes on his throw. But you can't drop the perfect passes because then he looks even worse than when you miss the bad ones, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. And it's like that thing where they're saying, like, look, JJ McCarthy needs to learn how to throw with touch. Like he does need to learn how to throw with touch. That needs to happen. But you dropping the ball has nothing to do with how hard he's throwing it. If he's throwing it harder than what you stand in front of the jug machine and take the catches, you need to go ramp up the jug machine to go faster. Like if he throws it with 61 miles an hour velocity or whatever, go stand in the jugs machine with it at 65 until you learn how to catch it. Because at the NFL, you should be catching those passes that come your way. He does need to learn to throw with touch, though. And Jay, he also needs to learn how to get the ball out a bit faster. Can JJ get the ball out of his hands fast enough to cope with the Green Bay Packers pass rush in this game? That's a big question that lots of people are asking.
Yes, but I also think that's on Kevin O'Connell to scheme up quick throws, get it out, make sure you run the ball. And you never know how it's going to turn out, but you got to feel like Aaron Jones going into this game is like, I want to put on a show.
Yeah, right.
In Green Bay.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Like, there's got to be that extra for the team you were with for like 8 years or whatever it was. And now you're like, all right, they didn't want me anymore. Let me go in here and show them why they fucked up. I feel like that's something that you get from a lot of really good players. So I feel like try to ride Aaron Jones as far as you can in this game. Ride with Mason. But the problem I have with their quick game this year is your quick game is so different than last year, I feel like. And maybe it's just because of the flow of the game and how they're scheming in the middle of the moment. But I don't love that your quick game consists of we're going to call a run, and if the DB's backed up, you just stand up and throw it to Jefferson, which is a great idea in NFL, but that can't be your quick passing game. Like, you've got to do more screens, and why they don't run more screens with Jordan Addison is beyond me. You should be doing everything you can when you're struggling to get him and Jalen Naylor the ball just because of their athletic ability.
Yeah, and even things like, especially when you're going up against the Green Bay Packers defense because of a man called Micah Parsons, things like jet sweeps and stuff like that really add to the outside. They actually help with the pass game, things like jet sweeps as well, because then you can run play action off them, and it gives JJ McCarthy a lot more time to throw if the defensive end is worried about a jet sweep getting out to him as well off a play action pass. And when you have guys like Jalen Naylor and like Jordan Addison, the jet sweep is a great way to go, and the screens are a great way to go as well. JJ McCarthy is 35th in the league in time to throw, 2.89 seconds, so he does need to get the ball out faster. But Jay, on the other side of the ball here, do the Green Bay Packers actually get enough pressure? And can Kevin O'Connell make the most of the Green Bay Packers defense? Because Micah Parsons is the only one who's getting pressure. In their last 2 games, Micah has more pressures than all of his teammates combined in those 2 games. So it's only coming from one guy in those pressures. So if he can find a way to just get out the other side, I feel like JJ McCarthy on some bootlegs out to the right, I feel like that's a good way to work. And I know it can also be because they scheme him that.
Well, yeah, and in the NFL, the reason you run jet sweeps and motions is it just takes one half a wrong step in the NFL for a guy to be out of position and it to set up the offensive line to make a big play. So and I like the idea after watching it more, as you said it, you can just set it up and you can kind of run at Micah and you don't have to be as worried. So I feel like if you run at Micah at first, it makes him hesitant off the rush too, right? So if they keep running at you, then now Micah's got to spend a split second longer to make sure he stays in his gap on the run if you're running at him, which makes him a half second slower on the pass rush.
Yeah, I think so as well. And Jay, who have we got in this one? Because the Vikings are a 6-point dog in this one. It's in Green Bay as well. Weather forecast is good there. It's just cold, right? But there's no.
I mean, it's normal for this time of year. I'm just a whiny bitch when it starts to get cold. So
yeah, but it's just cold rather than like super windy or super rainy or anything. Do you think the Vikings have a chance in this game? 6-point favorites, Green Bay Packers. Who you got?
I do think they have a chance, right? Because they have all that talent and that defense. My thing is, we just don't know if they put it together, how they play. They play games tough. Like JJ figured out a way to get them the lead at the end of the game last week, and then it still fell apart.
Yeah.
Because they play tough, I'm going to take the Vikings in the 6. If you made me bet it straight up, I would take the Packers, so I won't be shocked if the Packers win at all. But I think they'll keep it a close game, and that's what Minnesota does. So in the scheme of betting, just give me the points, but that doesn't mean I think that Minnesota is going to win the game.
Yeah, Jay, same rationale for me, really. I think the Packers could win the game, but 6 points is a lot for a Vikings team that stays in games. And I think they match up quite well with the Packers, actually. And people are giving JJ McCarthy a lot of hate. I actually think JJ McCarthy has been fine since he came into the NFL. He just needs like more steady away stuff. And when your receivers drop 9 catches, that's going to suck. And as you say, that doesn't happen in Minnesota. That won't happen that won't happen this week either. Give me the Vikings. I could see them winning the game, to be perfectly honest. So if you're giving me 6 points, then fine. Jay, the Baltimore Ravens are a huge favorite against the New York Jets. The New York Jets obviously starting Tyrod Taylor rather than Justin Fields. The Ravens are 13.5-point favorites. Jay, does Tyrod Taylor give the Jets a better chance to win than Justin Fields?
Well, yeah. I mean, my fucking 12-year-old neighbor gives the Jets fucking better chance to win than Justin Fields. Justin Fields should not be an NFL quarterback. Like, I don't know how many times I have to re-say this in the world before the NFL hears me.
Yeah, you need a pass game. Like, you need a pass game in the NFL. That needs to happen because you can stop the run. Like, if you can just completely fill the box, then you can stop any run you want, So you have to have a pass game, and Justin Fields currently hasn't really ever had it in terms of like a reliable pass game either. So I think Tyrod Taylor does give them a better chance of winning. But Jay, with that being said, should the Jets be drafting a quarterback next year?
Well, I don't know about next year because I don't love the quarterback class coming out. And they do have enough ammunition for the year after, right? So because they still have that first-round pick from the Cowboys in 2 years. So, like, I don't know. I don't know next year. If you line up and you think they're your guy, you get them. But this is not a quarterback class where you reach. I don't think you reach at this class. So they need a new quarterback. They need to draft one. I just don't know if next year is the time to go. And no, you don't have to answer it now. Put it in the comments if you're watching. I got a dilemma. Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold. For some reason, ESPN has Jacoby Brissett with a lot more points than Sam Darnold. So what would you guys do if you were me for fantasy? All right, but back to that. Yeah. I don't think there's a good quarterback in the draft that's good enough to move up. If you're up there and you think one of these guys are your guy, you grab them. But I'm not sure this is the year.
Yeah, I think Mendoza can fall to them, right? Because really everybody else who's going to be there has their quarterback. With the Titans has Cam Ward. The sorry, who is it? The Titans have Cam Ward. The Giants have Jackson Dart. They're the guys. So it's either the Jets or the Browns. I think Mendoza will fall to. And look, if I'm Mendoza, I want to go to Cleveland in that situation because at least they've got a good defense and a decent offensive line. Like at least they've got some semblance of something okay. You know, depending on how Shedeur Sanders goes, obviously, with his first
can
start.
Cleveland,
you will come to Shedeur.
But can Cleveland draft another quarterback and walk in next year with Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, fucking Shedeur Sanders, and a rookie first-round pick? Can you do that if you're Cleveland?
Yeah, exactly. So he could fall to the Jets, but I really don't like. I quite like Mendoza. I just don't think now's the right time to draft him with the Jets. Otherwise, you get in the same situation that they had with Sam Darnold. You get in the same situation that the Titans have with Cam Ward. That you're potentially ruining this first overall pick. So I don't think it's this year. I think build your team, keep fucking Tyrod Taylor. Like I don't know, like see who else will come to you, and see what will happen. But Jay, the Baltimore Ravens are 13.5-point favorites in this one. Will the Ravens have enough offensive production to cover the spread in this game?
Yeah, probably, because it's the Jets and but that's a good defense. I hate these spreads. You know what? With Tyrod Taylor there, I say they figure out how to move the ball better, more time of possession. I'm taking the Jets in the points. Give me the Jets and the points in this one.
Yeah, Jay. The Jets have actually. I was just checking this here. Out of the 11 games that they've played, 6 of the Jets games have been one-score games. They're not like very blowoutable. You know, like because they play such disgusting football where it's just like they can't throw it, they can only run it, and all of that kind of thing. It just means that the other team don't have that much time. And look, it's in Baltimore's, and weather's not great this time of year. But I've taken the Jets as well in this one. We're agreeing all the way down so far. I think 13.5 points for the Baltimore Ravens offense, as it currently looks, is too much. Jay, another huge spread. We've just done the 3 huge spreads back to back to back. The Detroit Lions are 12.5-point favorites against the New York Giants. Jay, is this a classic case of the Lions beat bad teams and they struggle against good teams?
I don't think they struggle against good teams. I think they just played good teams close and they lose some. And then we get this misconception that they can't beat good teams. And it's like, how many times have we watched them in the last few years beat the Chiefs? How many times have we watched them beat these teams? I think they just play good teams and then you end up losing some of those. So I don't think they struggle against good teams. I just think they play good teams, right? But yes, they definitely destroy bad teams. This is something the Lions do, is they definitely get up and beat up on bad teams. And I think that Jameis Winston makes it even worse for the Giants because you never know when he's just going to pop off 3 turnovers in 10 minutes. So I think Jameis seems like a great guy. He's a locker room guy, kind of a vibe guy. I'm not very comfortable with him starting. So I think it's even worse. I think Jackson Dart's a better quarterback. So I think it makes it even longer day on the Giants today, not having Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I think the Detroit Lions are always good for these big spreads. I think they really put bad teams to the sword, and the reason that they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and one of the reasons that they lose those big games, and they do beat good teams as well. But one of the reasons they lose those big games is they play too much on emotion and they play too much underdog ball, the Detroit Lions. So Dan Campbell is their demise in like those kind of big games. In these games, he's a real positive because it means they get up for every single game the way that he coaches football teams. So Jay, I think the Detroit Lions are good money here at 12.5. I'm going to take them. Are you going to do the same?
Yes, give me the Lions.
Just before we move on from that game, I would like to just talk about the Giants just quickly. Like, where is their defensive line gone? Because their defensive line is Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence. Like, on paper, that's an amazing defensive line. But they give up the most yards before contact for running backs in the NFL, or they're bottom 5 in the league at 1.9 yards before contact of running backs. And they're 21st in the league in no blitz pressure, rating as well, which is 13 points lower than what the Vikings get. Like, what's happening with that defensive line there in New York?
I don't think they're as good as people thought, and I think that they get credit just for being names.
Yeah, and it makes me think, like, Abdul Carter, was he like the guy that everybody thought he was coming out? Because obviously, Abdul Carter comes from Penn State. He wore Micah Parsons' number. Like, were we seeing Micah Parsons coming out? I definitely thought he was going to be better than this. And on their defensive line, I think I agree with you. It is just names, and the numbers flesh out that they're not as good as we thought they are. And I think the biggest surprise is Dexter Lawrence isn't moving as much isn't making as big of a difference at defensive tackle as I thought he would as well. So, don't bet on the Lions' defensive line anymore.
This might be the reason why when we were going, I wonder why nobody's trying to trade for Dexter Lawrence in the offseason. Maybe they saw something in the film where they're like, Dexter's slowing down. He ain't the same dude he was 2 years ago. Maybe that's a thing.
Yeah, it shows up in the stats. They're the bottom in the league in contact of running backs. Like, they don't get that back. They don't get that pushback on run plays when they're doing it. I think that Jameis Winston gives them like a weird puncher's chance, because yes, he could throw 3 touchdowns, but he could also throw three crazy interceptions, 4 crazy touchdowns or whatever. So he does make it more fun than Russell Wilson when Jackson Dart's out. But yes, they're definitely worse at the quarterback position without Jackson Dart. Jay, the Chicago Bears are 2.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bears are on top of the NFC North by half a game. Are the Bears dark horse contenders for the playoff, but for the NFC at the top of the NFC North? Are they dark horse contenders?
For the Super Bowl? No, I don't think so. I don't think they're there yet, but I think that they have a good chance of winning the North right now where they sit if they can keep going. And I definitely think they're going to win today. So I think that only helps their, bid for the division. I also think, though, that they're going to be the biggest Packer fan or Vikings fans today, because they are definitely going to be cheering for a Packers loss.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, I think this is one of the stats that we always talk about so much. We spoke about it with the Vikings a lot, but the Bears are 5-1 in one-score games, and I hear everybody going and saying like, "Oh, they're doing it in one-score games. They can't keep on doing this. They can't keep on doing this." And it's like, well, they can, because they continue to do it. They're 5-1 in one-score games for a reason. They get down the field, they get themselves into those positions, and they kick game-winning field goals. They do have the second most difficult schedule still to go. So we'll see how that shakes out, them being top of the NFC North. We'll see if they can cause some problems in the playoffs, which I think they might be able to do. But Jay, how much of a problem is the Bears' injury issues, especially in their secondary?
I think that the Bears have shown that they can overcome some of these injuries better than they have in years past. Also, I think when you have a coach like Johnson, he's smart enough to know we have to control the clock, run the ball, not create stupid mistakes, which ends up helping you. But today, I don't think that the corners become much of a problem. I don't think the secondary is much of a problem, because you have Mason Rudolph throwing the fucking ball. I mean, at what point do we just go, it's Mason Rudolph, we just chalk this up? Because the Steelers aren't that great with Aaron. So what is the fall off to Rudolph, right? And I know Mike Tomlin's saying all the right things about Mason Rudolph, but what else is he going to do?
Yeah, I think Mason Rudolph has a strong arm to hit it down the field, but I agree with you. I don't think in this game it's a huge issue. Just to go through their current injury issues, though. So out for this game, we have TJ Howard at linebacker, Kyle Gordon in the secondary, Jalen Johnson in the secondary as well, and Jaquan Brisker is also questionable, but was full participant at practice. So he probably will be showing up in the game, but he's listed as questionable currently. So there's some big names that they're missing in the secondary. That is difficult, but I don't see the secondary being a problem. if Aaron Rodgers is playing, then they do most of their work underneath, throwing quickly the Steelers. They very rarely push it down the field. And if Mason Rudolph's playing, he can push it down the field, but how reliable is he? He's been in the league for a long time. Well, Rodgers is still listed as questionable. Like, no, he's not out.
He's out.
Oh, he's out?
Yeah, he was my fantasy quarterback. He was out 2 days ago.
Oh, really? On the injury reports, he's still listed as questionable.
Yeah,
like limited practice on Friday, but
yeah, well, ESPN has him out on the app right now.
Okay,
and we're 1 minute away from all injury reports having to be in for the early slate. So,
right, we'll definitely know then. But Jay, they're doing the right thing, right, by sitting Aaron Rodgers down with a broken wrist. It felt like he really wanted to be back for this game. Do you feel like it was because it was his last chance to play against Chicago, a team that he's always loved playing against and that he currently owns? Do you think they're right to sit Aaron Rodgers in this game?
Yeah, and I'll tell you in a second what I think's going on. But yeah, even when I Googled it, they have Rodgers out at ESPN as of 57 minutes ago.
But yeah, fair enough. The injury report hasn't been updated.
Yeah. I think that injury might be worse than people are thinking because he's not playing, and I think that's a problem. Like Aaron Rodgers being as tough as nails, a guy who never wants to sit, and it's always serious injuries when he's out, right? It was that collarbone. It was the Achilles. So, like, I'm not sure that this isn't worse than what people are saying. And I feel like if Rodgers could play, he'd be in there. And I feel like if he could play, they'd play him because they need every win they can get into the playoffs. And the Bears are a wide open team for them to go get a win against, but it's also a team that could slap them in the mouth. So it's like if Rodgers was even remotely available, I think if he was 70%, they play him. So that makes me wonder if that injury is worse than what they're saying and if he's going to miss multiple games. That's where I'd be worried if I was them. So, yeah, they definitely should sit him because it seems like the injury is worse than what we all originally thought.
Yeah, I would definitely sim this one as well. You've got to protect him. He's got to be there. Like, he's got to be there for you down the stretch. So if you miss out on this,
aren't you in a weird spot though? Like, I need to save him for the playoffs because of the stretch run at the end of the year in the playoffs. But you're at a point now where, like, if we keep not losing games, we ain't making the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, he did participate in limited practice on Thursday and Friday. Like, he was on the practice field. I feel like you can see what you've got in this game. And as you say, the Bears are a weird team where they're getting all of these one-score games. And to be honest, I think that if you're winning one-score games all the time, then I kind of trust that with you. But they are there for the taking, like they are takeable. And look,
it's because they're good. They're not great. The Bears are good. They're just not great. So yes, they're there. So what should be happening is you're for the Steelers, you look at their team and you think our defense should be able to carry us to wins without needing to risk Aaron with a broken wrist. But I agree. I think they need to start getting the wins soon. But I do think it is right to sit him in. And you know, Mason Rudolph every now and again has a great game for the Steelers. You know, Mason Rudolph every now and again is totally fine. So we'll see what comes up here. But Jay, the Bears are 2.5-point favorites. Who you got? Give me the Bears. The Bears.
Oh, continuing to agree. I've got the Bears as 2.5-point favorites here as well. The Steelers don't give me much confidence. And the team that didn't give either of us much confidence on Thursday, Jay, the Cincinnati Bengals are going up against the New York Patriots. The Patriots are now 7-point favorites after being 5.5-point favorites.
Okay.
On Thursday.
You said it because you read it, but you really messed up the Patriots name, just so you read that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, I put the New York Patriots.
Yeah, you said it because you read it. Yeah.
Did I say it? Oh, wow.
You did. That's what made me read it. You said it, and I had to look at your thing, and I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, he wrote it. Yeah, no problem.
I've got my show notes here, everybody, and sometimes I'm writing them so quickly that I misspell some things.
But
But
I had to put it out and laugh at you quick. But when it comes to the Bengals, this is what we talked about on Thursday. Like, I didn't think Joe Burrow was playing either way, and I think that I thought they were playing coy with the injury report, and it just goes to show that's really what they were doing.
I as I said on Thursday, I think it would be insane for them to basically play Joe Burrow at any other point this season. Like, I think it would be nuts just because they're terrible on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think Joe Burrow moves the needle for them winning, and you're only risking injury for him. So I think it is definitely the right call for him not to play. Jay, I saw there was a comment on one of our shorts, and guys, if you want to go watch us on YouTube Shorts, then you can go check out all of our takes on YouTube Shorts, and do make sure to like and comment on those. But I saw one of our comments being like, this take is like, if you buy a fancy car and then you don't drive it. But it made me think, yes, but putting Joe Burrow in this offense right now is like buying a Ferrari and driving it in the snow. Like, you don't take your fancy car out and drive it if the conditions are terrible, because then you'll break your fancy car that you've just spent loads of money for.
It's like driving your fancy car when it has a fucking steering problem, and you ruin the car instead of getting the steering problem fixed before you drive it. But if we're talking about comments, I had one that told me it's time for a diet.
Wow. Maybe it was leveled at it was leveled at me as well.
It was me. It was definitely me, because I was the only one in the reel that it was showing. But that just made me laugh, and I liked it and told him, just watch out, Thanksgiving's coming.
the downsides of our growing support, and we just want to thank all of you guys for all of that support. We do really appreciate it, and if you want to say to us, go on a diet, we really don't mind.
We don't need to go there, but that's still a way nicer comment than some of them I get on my other podcast.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I was going with that. But yeah, so I really think they're doing the right thing by keeping Joe Burrow out of this offense, and I think they're just trying to save their jobs if they put him in at this point. If I was the ownership or the GM, I'd be begging them to not put Joe Burrow in the lineup. But Jay, can the Bengals' run game actually step up? Can they stop the New England Patriots in this run game? What do you think?
No. I think this is a long day for Cincinnati. I really do. I think this is a really long day for Cincinnati.
Yeah. Jay, I was having a little look at some like in-depth stats and DVOA, which I'm not really sure how they measure. I don't really get it, but it's a pretty big deal in like the PFF same circle, the analysts. But the Cincinnati Bengals are the worst defense in NFL history, according to some of these stats, through 10 games. They're worse than the 2016 Browns, who went 0-16. That's how bad this defense is that they're currently playing. Their stats look like typos. And on the other side of the ball, you have Trayvon Henderson, who's got 200 yards across his last two games. It's the third most rush yards, and the Bengals give up the third most rush yards in the league, 1,609 yards. Only the Bills and the Giants have more rush yards against them in the NFL. So, I worry for the Bengals run game. Jay, will the Bengals offense be able to keep up? Obviously, Jamar Chase is missing.
No Burrow, no Chase. You're in trouble. It's a rough, long day. And just for the record, since we're on this, I think Jamar Chase should have got 2 games at least. And I think that, I know people are going to say you can't do this, but I think Jalen Ramsey should have not got suspended, because if you spit in my face, you're lucky that's all that happened.
Yeah, like I obviously understand it from like a role model point of view, like you're meant to show, but
fuck this role model.
Like if someone spits in your face, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. And the other side of that is though, Jay, if you're giving 2 games to Jamar Chase, you should have given at least the game suspension to Jalen Carter, because by the way, Jalen Carter didn't actually get a game suspension. Jalen Carter got 0 game suspension. No, because he played it down in the game. And then because he missed the whole game, like if I get a red card, like in any other sport, they don't count the game that you've played. If it was truly before the game, fine, but they played it down. It was in the game, and he got ejected. So all I'm looking is for consistency.
No, the reason I think Jamar should have got 2 is because they gave Jalen 1. Like, he should have got double.
Yeah.
I don't think Jalen should have got anything. But if you're going to give Jalen 1, you got to give him 2. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, I'd rather be punched than spit on. I'd rather be slapped than spit on. And we literally have to fight after the game in the locker room or the tunnel if you spit on me. We have to fight. There's no and it also shows that maybe Jamar Chase doesn't have as much class as people gave him credit for.
Yeah, and I think also I think it shows a lot of kind of, because he's never seemed like that kind of guy. I think there is a lot of frustration in Cincinnati. I think they're just generally frustrated.
Yeah,
and I think
what kind of dude goes to that extreme? Yeah. Like, if you'd have punched him, I get it. If you'd have ripped him down by his face mask, I get it. But you spit on the man.
Yeah, and I think it's just a massive, like, it's like a huge cultural no for us. Like, the cultural connotations of being spit on are like insane.
Well, and you can be slinging disease even.
that's true. But yeah, I think it's just a real problem in Cincinnati as well. Like that, it's like an offense versus defense mentality. Look, I don't think Jamar Chase was really thinking when he's batting them. Like, you're not thinking, if you've got like unless you're a really fucked up guy, like, you're not thinking straight when you spit on someone.
Have you ever been so mad? Have you ever been so mad that your first thought is to spit on somebody, though? Like,
no, I think it's insane. No, I think it's insane, which is why
I think about punching people in the face on the daily. Daily, I think about punching people in the face, right? Or like choke slamming some dude like The Undertaker. But it never crosses my mind to spit in that person's face. That's what's wild to me. The actual thought process that had to go into it, because it's not a regular thing you see, right? Like, you don't just see people getting spit on daily. So that's where, to me, it was like, what's going on? And it also makes me think Jamar Chase wants the fuck out of there and doesn't know how to get out either.
I think it is a difficult situation for Chase to get out of. I think that's probably what's more frustrating. Like, in other teams that have this kind of record, their wide receivers, again, immediately linked to every other team in the NFL. And Jamar Chase wasn't mentioned once, because I think, like, him and Joe Burrow are just locked into Cincinnati. Like, they can't get out. Like, Cincinnati won't let them go because, like, they're their entire franchise. They're the only reason they're really the only reason there's still a football team in Cincinnati, and they're not getting spoken about getting moved. Like, because it's a poverty franchise, really. They should be way better than what they are, and they're just not. And yes, it's rough in Cincinnati. And with that, Jay, I guess we're both taking the Patriots as 7-point favorites, as well as taking them as 5.5-point favorites on Thursday. Am I right?
I think this is one of my best bets.
It was both of our best bets at 5.5 on Thursday, and we're both taking it at 7 as well. But everybody, that is the early slate of games, and we have picked every single one, and me and Jay are agreeing on all of our bets so far. So come back for the second half of the show after the break to find out if we will start to disagree in the late slate games, and stay tuned for our fantasy player to watch.
Me and Jay set up the Yankee and the Brit nearly 5 years ago, and in that time we've gone up to about 7 shows a week. And with the help of our loyal community, we've been able to keep growing. But we want to grow even more. And that's why just giving $5 or £5 could really help us out in our Buy Me a Coffee fund. And all you have to do is hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our YouTube descriptions. That'll be on every single video. You can give £5, $5. You can give it once, you can give it every month. And what that does is it allows us to grow and even buy ourselves a coffee every once in a while.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to give us any support at all, then you can go to the QR code in the corner, or you can head down to the link in the description below and go straight to our Buy Me a Coffee fund, where it is what powers us through these 2-hour long shows before kickoffs, especially with how early it is for Jay over there. So, guys, we're moving into the late window now where we pick every single game on the spread as well as what we've been doing in the first half of the show. We have first up the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 3.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders playing in Vegas again, which is probably what makes them the favorite here. But Jay, was Shedeur Sanders' debut bad enough to make the Ravens favored in this game?
I don't know, but what I found out this week makes me disgusted with what's going on in Cleveland. Proves to me that the coaching staff did not want Shedeur. That was an Andrew Berry thing. Did you know this kid had zero, and I mean zero, snaps with the first team offense ever? Training camp, practice, ever. He has had zero snaps with the first string since he's been a Brown, which makes me feel 100% like the coaching staff did not want Shedeur.
Yeah, and I think you could read into like the fact that they didn't want Shedeur because they take Dylan Gabriel. You don't take two rookies. Like I know it fell to him but you don't make your third quarterback a rookie either. When you know you're probably going to move off your first quarterback in Joe Flacco as well. You know you're going to move off him at some point in the season. You don't make your third guy a rookie. Like that's insane. And also, Shedeur Sanders was better than Dylan Gabriel in preseason. Like, Dylan Gabriel may have shown a bit more, like, steady away, and Shedeur Sanders showed the thing that makes Shedeur Sanders bad in terms of, like, trying to overplay, needing to get rid of the ball a lot faster in the preseason. But he played better than Dylan Gabriel. The Browns' offense was more exciting, had more big playability in the preseason. So I'm surprised they didn't give him anything at all.
Literally think about this. When he got in that game, that pass he threw to Jerry Jeudy was the first time he had ever thrown a pass to Jerry Jeudy. How fucking crazy is that?
Yeah, that is mental. And, it is like, look, it's fucking Cleveland. It's the Cleveland Browns. It's who they are. But Jay, do you think he's going to have a vast improvement after getting first team snaps, being prepared, like actually getting prepared by Kevin Stefanski to go out and play in this game?
I do. I think he'll be better. I mean, well, you kind of can't get worse, right?
Can't get worse.
Yes, but he'll definitely be better. I think we're going to see more of what we expected out of Shedeur coming out of college. I still think this kid was a first-round pick, so the fact that he went in the 5th is wild to me. I think that had a lot to do with off-field shit, the media circus that was coming with him. I think some teams didn't want to deal with Dion. I think it was a combination of all of them. I know there was a lot of shit before the draft where they're like, he didn't interview well. But the more you hear, not one team who's ever came out has said they had a bad thing to say about him in an interview. So I think that was a lot of what to do about nothing, too. I think there was some reason there was a real dislike for him and the Sanders family in that draft process. And I think it showed up. But I think he's super talented, and I think he's got a lot of potential. Now, granted, being with the Browns is always fighting a losing battle. But a great team to get right with is to go up against the Raiders if you came off a struggle.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about for Shedeur in this game is one, he had a terrible game. Like, it was really bad. And he looked kind of defeated, actually, after the game, like, sat on the bench. Like, he'll be fine. Like, he seems to have a good personality and everything, like, coming back, believing in himself kind of guy. But it felt like he knew that was his moment, and it was bad. Like, it was bad to watch. But the big thing that I worry about is the one thing that the Raiders are good on defense. It's Max Crosby, and the Raiders do get a decent pressure rate. And Shedeur has to stay in the pocket. Like, he can't drop back as far as he did. Like, and we need to find out if it's the Colorado offensive line that was really bad, or Shedeur made them a bit worse as well. Like, we know that the offensive line was bad, but did Shedeur make it worse? And we also need to find out if that experience is ingrained in him. Because the Browns' offensive line is okay. Like it's fine, you know. And we need to find out if that behavior of him going out the back is ingrained in him. Because if it is, Max Crosby is going to eat him up all day. He needs to help out his offensive line by actually staying in the pocket. I think Shador will have a better game, and I think they'll really get behind the run in this one. Yeah. But Jay, the other big thing is, can the Raiders line do anything for the Raiders to get any offense whatsoever? Myles Garrett is playing the best defensive football in the NFL right now. The Raiders, especially their interior O-line, is horrific. Do you think they can actually get anything done?
This is a rough defense when you got a bad offensive line to try to get going against.
Yeah, right.
I'm banking on the Browns defense today. I put them in fantasy because I feel like this is a fucking big game for them to be able to get some points. Yeah, I think it's going to be a long day playing against that defense for Las Vegas. So I don't think that your O-line can get any better, definitely against the Browns. You just got to figure out how to get the ball out of Geno's hands quick. Short passing game, I would say run the ball, but I think that's going to be fucking rough too. I think you're going to have to rely on a short passing game and get them to back up some so you can actually run the ball. You know, a lot of times you hear you got to run to open up the pass. I feel like this is a game, if you want any semblance of a running game, you got to pass to open up the run because you got to make that defense back up.
Yeah, definitely. And for this game, I think everybody's talking about Myles Garrett. We all know how amazing Myles Garrett is. But Jake, Mason Graham is making a sneaky case of being defensive rookie of the year for me. Like, Mason Graham is incredible in that defensive tackle slot. And going up against this Raiders O-line, I think Mason Graham is going to eat in this game. I think he's really going to take it to him, take it to the Raiders. I think he's going to get to the quarterback. We might see a couple of sacks out of Mason Graham in this one as well. And I think he'll be vying for our rookie MVP of the week by the time it comes around on Thursday. And with that, Jay, I have this question. Is Ashton Jeanty a draft bust for the Raiders?
No, they just got a shit offensive line, right? Like, you got to fix that offensive line or nothing's going to matter. And they don't have a lot of weapons. So, like, they're in this building. I'm not sure you should have drafted him that high. I mean, he's great and he deserves to be that high, but I don't think you as an organization should have been the one drafting him where you did, because your bright spots are your tight end and your running back, which is one of those things where you fill at the end after you have the trenches, the quarterback, and don't get me wrong, they have a generational talent at tight end, but it does not matter if you don't have a quarterback or an offensive line, which is the same thing as it doesn't matter how good Ashton Jeanty is. Unless you're Barry Sanders, no running back can run behind an awful offensive line.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty is hit before the line of scrimmage more than any other running back in the league. I don't think Ashton Jeanty himself is a bust. I think Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders is at 6 overall is a terrible pickup for the Raiders. The Raiders could have gone out and they could have got Tyler Booker, who's having a great season in the run game for the Dallas Cowboys, or they could have got Greg Zabel. Both of those have ended up playing at guard, and both of them have played really well, and both of them were drafted after Ashton Jeanty. And Jay, it reminded me of the draft where the Bengals decided to take Jamar Chase instead of Penei Sewell. Now, Jamar Chase is great for the Cincinnati Bengals. But if they went and took Penei Sewell, would the Bengals actually be better overall? Because one, Joe Burrow may actually have a chance of completing a season without getting injured. And then how much do you lose a wide receiver? And it's just a case of you need to make those grown-up decisions as an organization. And then when the Detroit Lions come up and instead of taking Jalen Waddle like everybody thought they were going to, they come in and they take Penei Sewell. And it showed this shift change of the Detroit Lions becoming a real organization. And the Bengals continued down that line. And the Raiders did the same thing, taking Jeanty over Tyler Booker and Greg Zabel. I think that's what I mean by bust.
Well, they definitely made a bad decision with drafting, right? Because as you talk about Chase, like if they would have took Sewell, built up the offensive line, then in drafts coming, you could have went and got Jordan Addison to go with T. Higgins. You could have went and got different receivers who are out there that are really good, right? That didn't take a super high draft pick and built your team around with good. But I get it. You wanted to pair Burrow up with Jamar Chase, and at the time, I didn't think it was the worst idea because of that. But when you go to the Raiders, it doesn't make as much sense because you're picking up a running back at 6 overall, which in the scheme of the NFL now is completely wild too, because even Adrian Peterson went 7th and, first ballot Hall of Famer. So that's kind of a weird spot to be taking a running back when you're needing so much. And you and I talk about it all the time. Teams fuck up the process because if you don't build from the inside out, it doesn't make any sense. And the Raiders are literally building from skilled positions in, which is really weird to me.
Yeah, and I think it's just not good. Like they've just not built that team right. They didn't build it fresh and Jenny to succeed. And Jay, you got to think that they could have traded down at that spot as well. It sounded like there were plenty of people trying to get up in that draft, trying to get up and get the few blue chip players that were available. You got to think they could have come down, and if they still wanted to draft a running back, they could have had Omarion Hampton at the end of the first round, or as well, or they could have had Quinshon Judkins, who they're about to play against as well. Jay, who have you got in this one? Browns are a 3.5-point dog. Raiders at 3.5-point favorite.
I think the Browns are going to win, so give me the Browns and the points.
Yeah, I think low-scoring game in this one. I would be interested to see the over/under and just probably slam the under in this one. I think the Raiders don't get enough offensive here. I'm going to take the Browns in this one as well. Jay, we need to make up some time, and unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals and the Jacksonville Jaguars might have to take the hit here. The Jags are 2.5-point favorites. Jay, Marvin Harrison Jr. is returning after Jacoby Brissett has the most completions in NFL history the week before. Do you think he elevates the Arizona Cardinals offense into scoring more points, Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I don't know because he hasn't been like this go-to lockdown guy for Jacoby. Jacoby just seems the guy, get to the open guy, get the ball out of your hands. Let's just try to move the chains. Don't always have to go for big plays. I don't know if that's the type of style of offense for Jacoby Brissett that just bringing him back leads to points, but it definitely makes it more weapons and more opportunities to move the ball with him in the lineup. So I don't know if it leads to points, but it does make it an easier road for Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, and I really do think that people are like the Cardinals are really struggling at the running back position. Trey Benson still hasn't come back. DeMarcado is out. Obviously, they lost James Conner as well, and they're big on the run game, and it's really important to them. So it is helpful having Marvin Harrison Jr. back. I'm just not sure how much it affects them. And Jay, the Jacksonville Jaguars went up against the Chargers last week, and their defense looked like it really did get back on track against the Chargers as well. Jay, Jacksonville are 2.5-point favorites. They were my best bet as 3-point favorites on Thursday. They're now 2.5. So I'll be taking the Jags. Who have you got?
Yes, I am back in a toxic relationship with Trevor Lawrence, so we will take the Jags minus 2.5.
Oh, but Jay, you worked so hard. You worked so hard to get out. Jay,
I did for a week,
game.
and then he was like, "Baby, I love you. I'm sorry." And I was like, "All right, let's do it again."
He went to one therapy session. Like, it really meant so much. And, he showed up to your door with flowers. Like, it was a big deal.
He promised never to abuse me again.
Yeah. Jay, the big game in Big D, the Dallas Cowboys are going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a 3-point road dog in this NFC East divisional game. Jay, has the Dallas Cowboys defense been revived?
It looks better. I don't know about revive. What are we talking about revive? What level are we like?
Does it no longer look awful?
No, I mean, it looks serviceable, maybe lower middle of the pack. I think you're one off season away from being a lot better, but people don't want to hear what I have to say when it comes to it because there is really some Cowboys hate going on, and everybody really just wants them to crumble after trading Micah. I think that has something to do with it. I love what they did on the D line. I love how they're focusing on using these assets that they picked up in the Micah trade, that they're not afraid to bolster their run defense, their D tackles. We talked about it. A D tackle is hard to find. They got 3. A 3 technique, too, a legitimate 3 technique in Quentin Williams. I think that is huge to go up against with Kenny Clark. I like what you're doing. I think your secondary still suspect, and that's where the problem comes in for the Cowboys. But we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, who haven't had the greatest pass game this year anyway. So what does that mean for the game?
Yeah, definitely. And Jay, in that game against the Raiders, where we got to see our 3 D tackles on the field all at the same time at different points as well, which is super, super exciting. We got a sack for each defensive tackle in the game as well. Well, half a sack for Kenny Clark, but it was really his sack, and the other half of it went to Kenyon Williams as well. But a sack for each defensive tackle in that game. And then what that allows to do once we have that really solid defensive tackle is, look, Donovan Ezaraku, our rookie D-end, is actually having a great season. He's 20th in PFF grade against defensive ends. He's 79.7 rated at PFF as well. Overshown comes back. He was one of the most explosive players in the league last year. Siobhan Ravel came back last game and looked pretty good as well. And then the big one, obviously, going into this game when Saquon Barkley is back there and the Eagles run their entire game off being able to pick up the run game, is the Dallas Cowboys are 6th in run block win percentage in the NFL as well. And they're now moving out of the bottom 10 in run yards per attempt. They've moved out. They've got out the bottom 10. They're slowly improving after some really difficult games at the start of the season. So I do think they're getting better, and I think they're making big steps, and they have really good pieces. Do I think it's one of the best defenses in the NFL? Obviously not, but I agree with you. They're one season away from being pretty decent. And if we can get into that cornerback room and really pump youth into it after during the draft, then I think that would be really important. Jalen Carter will be playing in this game. We've mentioned him already. Can the Dallas Cowboys offense keep up the huge production with Jalen Carter in the game, as long as he doesn't get ejected before the game this time?
I love how you threw that in there. I love me some Jalen Carter. The dude is a fucking monster.
He's
I think he's a fucking great player, and I think he makes a huge difference on that Eagles defensive line. And you can go ahead, because I'm literally still laughing because of you fucking taking that shot on the way in.
But Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are obviously 2 of the best defensive tackles in the league. I think it is really interesting that we're about to go into a game where, like, you know, maybe 4 out of the best.
If I'm not mistaken, though, aren't you guys somewhere in the tops with your tackles right now too, though?
Yeah. So in our your
offensive tackles, I think I have high PFF scores though right now. So if they can hold up, then you can put more help to the inside of the offensive line.
Yeah, Tyler Guyton is playing really well at left tackle as well. But actually, our interior offensive line is even better, especially in the run game, right? Tyler Booker has a 77.2 run blocking grade from PFF. That's 8th in the NFL. Tyler Smith is 10th in the NFL for run grade. And Cooper Beebe is 11th in the NFL for run grade at their position.
But that's still not against Carter.
Yeah, it's not against Carter and it's not against Jordan Davis, but obviously that is helpful. Like, you're going up against 2 of the best D tackles in the league. Like, and we have this good now in pass blocking. It's not as good, but for me, like, they're still like middle of the road in the NFL, but it's not as good as those numbers with run blocking. But the key here is to be able to get that run going. The Cowboys are better when they run the ball, and then you have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens going crazy over the top as well. And Jay, with the Philadelphia, how can the Philadelphia Eagles have a big weakness in the cornerback room with Adoree Jackson. How can the Philadelphia Eagles hide Adoree Jackson from having to go one-on-one coverage with CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens? Hopefully, neither of them have been out in Dallas casinos this morning.
You play, even if you play man, you play a zone over the top or you play zone, and that's how you hide your corners who have problems at one-on-one. I think that the key for Philadelphia, though, is you have to get Dak off his spot. Then it helps with the corners. You have to get pressure. And what you want, I mean, if I'm them, what I do is I try to figure out a way to make you beat me with the running game. I don't want Dak and the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens to be the ones that beat me. So I'm not exactly sure how you do it you got to get pressure, but you want to make them one-dimensional, and you want to take away the run or the pass. You don't want them to have to, like, you can take away the run and make them pass, but that's just leaning into the Cowboys' strength. So you want to figure out how to make them one-dimensional by taking away the pass.
For me, I'd really be tempted to take away the run from the Dallas Cowboys if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Because if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, your entire game is based on, like, taking up the clock. And look, I've been looking for positives in the Eagles offense because they're winning football games. I've been looking for how they've been winning football games and where the positives in this offense are, even though it's kind of stale and pedestrian in offense as well. But the Eagles average 129 yards in their last two games on the ground, which is actually, if you average in each game 129 yards on the ground, that's pretty good going. And they're doing it at 3.5 yards a carry, which isn't a lot. That's not high by any means. But they're also doing it without breaking huge runs. So it basically means every time they carry the ball, they're getting 3.5 yards a carry. And if you do that as you march down the field, you're getting huge wins on time of possession. Like time of possession, you are getting huge wins. And the reason that Jalen Carter can go, and the reason that Jordan Davis is playing more snaps than he's ever played before, apart from getting into being really fit, is they're spending so much time sat on the bench because they're not, like, the Eagles are not making any explosive plays. So if you can stop the Cowboys from controlling any clock, and you can get the Cowboys passing, and if they score quickly, that's fine. We'll just march down again, and we'll just force them to pass, and we'll just force them to pass to keep up with us, and we'll just march down again. I think that's a good way for the Eagles to get into this game.
The reason I disagree is because I think that's the Eagles' strength, and they don't have to do anything to be a good run team. So I feel like you got to do everything you can to take away the pass because your run defense is good enough. So that's where I went the other way, is because I feel like if you figure out how to take out the pass, your defense is built to stop the run.
Yeah, and I think with Jalen Phillips in there as well, then they should actually be able to get some decent they've been able to get some decent pass pressure, only rushing 4. There's been no need for them to do loads of blitzing since they brought Jalen Phillips in, and then you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter as well. Jay, the Eagles are 3-point favorites in this one. Who have you got?
I got the upset. Give me the Cowboys in this one.
Jay, I wanted to have the slam on the table moment of give me the Cowboys. I wanted to do the full Skip Bayless.
Well, you should have picked first, and then you're in control. You could have done that first.
No, no, you go first. But yes, I've picked the Dallas Cowboys in this one as well. As the Cowboys as a 3-point dog, I think they match up kind of well. And look, I'm buying into the hype of the defense is fixed and it's going to look great and amazing. So we'll see how that goes. Jay, the Atlanta Falcons are going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 2.5-point favorites here. Jay, if this betting line isn't a case for firing Raheem Morris and the front office of the Atlanta Falcons, then I don't know what is. Is it a surprise that the Falcons are underdogs in this game against one of the worst teams in the NFL?
Yes, it is wild to me, which, because I think it's so crazy, probably means New Orleans will figure out a way to win. I think this is insane. I think Kirk Cousins will play better than Michael Penix. I don't understand this. I see so much more talent across Atlanta's team. And the fact that they are underdogs against the Saints is completely wild to me. And it goes back to why I said it when they hired him. I just felt like Raheem Morris was the wrong guy for the job.
Yeah, and I think that just proves he's the wrong guy for the job. Like, to have fallen this far with a team that's this good, they're about to play. Like, yes, their starting quarterback's injured, but they've got they've got $100 million quarterback. They paid $100 million for the quarterback that's about to come in and play for them. They've got a top 15 pass defense, top 10 in most categories pass defense in the league, going up against Tyler Shough and a top 3 running back in the league. And yes, Drake London is out, but you have Bijan Robinson right there in your grasp as well. And you're going up the Saints and you're an underdog. That's got to be the case for clearing house for me. Even if they come out and win this game, just that look and just the fact that neither of us picked the Falcons as our best bet to win. Even let me just check. Neither of us picked the Falcons as our best bet to win either. It shows that we're not that confident that they'll actually get this done. So, I think that's mad. Jay, I mentioned Drake London is out. Is this finally the game where Bijan Robinson, fantasy owners have been looking for, and will Bijan Robinson go off and take a hold of this game with Drake London out?
They should play it that way, but I don't think that's what will happen because this organization has proven, except for one game, that they're not going to run this offense through Bijan Robinson, which is completely crazy to me. I'm not sure what's going on down there, except they're dysfunctional as fuck, and they don't seem to want to change anything. It almost seems like one of those coaches who are like, I'm going to make the players fit my scheme instead of making my scheme fit the players.
Yeah, and I think with what they've got, they've actually, you know what, the front office hasn't done that badly. Like, the front office has given a decent team to them. Like, the quarterback situation was a bit weird with Kirk Cousins and then drafting Michael Penix. Like, that was a little strange, but otherwise, like, they've made lots of good moves. Like, Walker coming off the edge as the rookie this season looks really great. The pass defense looks like pretty decent. The defense every now and again looks fine. Like, the players are very good. And then the offensive side of the ball, I think most teams would look at their offense and go, yeah, like, I could fuck with that. Like, most coaches would go, I could definitely take that. Like, in my opinion, they need a quarterback. I don't think Michael Penix is really any good either, but yeah, so it amazes me every single time, and I really do think they've got to run this game through Bijan Robinson. But yeah, I don't think they will either. Jay, can Kirk Cousins carry the Falcons to victory? He seemed to struggle running this offense, and his arm looked really weak last week.
Kirk will be fine. Kirk will get the ball out of his hands. He'll hit the open guy. He's accurate. I think Atlanta wins this game. So I think this is crazy with the point spread, which makes me think that somehow New Orleans is going to come out and win it just to wreck my day. But give me Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm taking Atlanta with this one as well. I think the point spread's just so crazy. The talent on each roster is so different that the only thing I want to see is Kirk Cousins get used to the fact that his arm isn't as strong. You know, like, he just needs to get used to it. He needs, you know, like, Kyler Murray is used to the fact that he's short. So he plays the game being a short guy. Kirk Cousins is used to having a stronger arm than he currently has, and he just needs to get used to that being his arm. And he just seems to hate this scheme, but hopefully they've simplified everything for him. Okay, everybody, moving on to Sunday Night Football. The Los Angeles Rams are going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Rams are 6.5-point favorites here. Jay, the Bucs are on a bit of a losing streak here, but have they actually been playing closer against some very good teams than the scoreboards would have suggested in the last 2 games?
I like what Tampa's doing. I think Tampa's got a good team. I think injuries have really fucked Tampa. I think that's part of the problem that you're seeing in Tampa right now. Like, when is Bucky Irvin coming back? That's a big thing because he was balling out before he got injured. So I think the Buccaneers' problems come down to injuries, and I think that they've actually been playing better than they should, which makes us question how good they are because the injuries have been at really pivotal positions.
Yeah, I think the Bucs have been an excellent team. The game against the Bills, there was 9 lead changes in that game, and until the fourth quarter, the Bills never really got out of sight, never out of one score. Considering how injured the Bucs have been, And there was a one-score loss against the New England Patriots as well. So those are two of the best teams in the AFC there that they've played close, considering how injured they've been. I think that the Bucs are a great team, and when you're just as injured as the Bucs are, then you are going to struggle. Chris Godwin is apparently coming back today, so that should help them as well. Jay, how can the other big story out of the Los Angeles Rams is this 13 personnel where they're basically playing with 3 tight ends on the field at any one time? How can the Tampa Bay Buccaneers handle the Rams' 13 personnel?
I think they have the right defense to actually play against the 13 personnel without as many problems. And it's why I think you see the Rams come out, spread it out, Devontae Adams. Like, I think that's what you see this week. I think you see a completely different offensive game plan from McVay. They'll run some of the 13 because they're good at it, and it's good for Matt Stafford because it makes you move up in the box, worry about the run, and then Stafford can hit his tight ends or his receiver. But I think we see a lot more spread, make Tampa Bay spread it out because they're so depleted and make them beat you that way. And then I feel like when you're playing Tampa, it's a good way to get them to back up off the running game too, because they're good at defending the run. So if you spread them out, it opens more lanes for your running backs.
I think I could see that as well. I think the thing that most people think when they look at 13 personnel is you've got to go big, right? The whole point of 13 personnel, the way that Sean McVay runs it, is to get you into going big, like to get more linebackers on the field, and then you just go in a pass, right? But the way the Seahawks combated it, and the Seahawks did it really successfully, is they kept their DBs on the field because they have DBs that are big enough. They have Tyreek Woolen, they have Nick Omamwari, who's big enough as well to go make those plays. And the Seahawks have that at safety as well. The Bucs have that at safety as well. The Bucs safeties are big, like they're smart. They can really handle 13 personnel. So I think it would be so Sean McVay to come out, all the noise around 13 personnel, and then just show wrinkles and wrinkles off it like the entire game and just take it away. It would be very, very Sean McVay.
Tampa can do what Minnesota does, and instead of adding linebackers, you add safeties. Minnesota will play with 3 and 4 safeties on the field at times.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, I think the Rams might just completely go away from it. I agree with you. Jay, are the Los Angeles Rams an elite offense? They only won by 2 points. After Sam Darnold committed 4 turnovers in that game, they only scored 21 against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Are they an elite offense?
I actually had a conversation with one of my friends about this week, and then I'll tell you the nasty burn he gave me at the end of the game, or at the end of the conversation, because we pick on each other all the time. But we were talking about this, and I'm like, they have elite talent. They don't play elite football with that talent, but it's not because they can't. It's because the style of football they're playing right now. But they have it across the board to be an elite offense. They're playing a different type of offense right now than people want to see. So I say they have an elite offense at what they do, but it's not what normal fans would call elite because they're not putting up huge numbers of points. But I feel like they're really controlling what they do. They're really owning that offense. But this is the same guy. We pick on each other, so we're always talking shit. And he literally told me, "You look like you suck dick for gas money and choose to walk anyway."
Wow.
Yeah.
But for fuck's sake. I agree with you. I think they're playing a different style of offense. And look, what the Rams make sure they do is they make sure they score points where there's points on offer. That's what they're really great at. The Seahawks are a great defense, but the Rams they're 4th in the league in total touchdowns. Stafford is currently 27-2 in touchdown interception ratio, which is like insane, 27-2. Make sure they look after the ball. They have no need to go into shootouts. And when they've been asked to go into shootouts, they've gone into shootouts. Their defense is amazing. Jay, who have you got in this one? Rams are 6.5-point favorites.
I really like the Bucs, and I hope the Bucs figure it out, get healthy. I think Bucky's supposed to be next week. He's supposed to be back. But I still think the Rams have too much for them this week. I don't love the 6.5, but I am going to take the 6.5 with the Rams.
For fuck's sake, agree again. We better disagree on the last one. We've agreed on every single one so far. I feel like we might disagree on the last one, to be fair. The Rams are 6.5-point favorites. I'm taking the Rams.
Well, definitely because you're the world's biggest 49ers hater, but go ahead.
Yeah, and clearly the biggest Panthers fan. So just to spoil for everybody what's coming up. But the Rams are 6.5-point favorites.
I might take the Panthers.
I think the Rams defense is just so good as well. Like I think they'll come out with a touchdown win. I don't love it. I wouldn't bet it, but that is the bet that we're picking in this one. And Jay, just to round off our picks of games before moving quickly on to our fantasy plays to watch. Monday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers are 7.5-point favorites against the Carolina Panthers. Jay, are Carolina potential playoff candidates? They'll be half a game behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Could they get the division win?
I don't think so. Like to say they can't mathematically, they obviously can, right? Like, so that's crazy. But I don't think they can because I just think they'll like fall off at the end. But again, we've been talking about it's a slow grind, but it looks like they're building in the right direction, doing the right things. They're a really tough team at times for people to play. I think people overlook them, which is a mistake also. But I think there's just too much going on in the NFC for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they'll struggle to make the playoffs as a wild card. They're in the same position as the Dallas Cowboys with the wild card spot. They're kind of in that range where it's like there's people who are really in the hunt, there's people who are completely out of the hunt, and then there's the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers. But the Carolina Panthers are only half a game back from the Bucs, and the Bucs are struggling with injury as well. And I think the Carolina Panthers, they play teams hard, and since they found their run game, they play teams really hard as well. Jay, what San Francisco 49ers weakness could the Carolina Panthers attack like with their offense?
I think to beat the San Francisco 49ers, you got to establish a running game. And I think if you can establish a running game, it opens up other things because then Saleh will have to move pieces around to stop the run. I don't think they have it in Carolina, but like that's just on the offensive ball. To beat San Francisco, you have to stop their offense, and that's going to become a problem too because Christian McCaffrey is just a fucking magician.
Yeah, I think the one way that they do it is by keeping the 49ers off the field, and I think they can. I think the 49ers defense just it isn't incredible. They get no pressure on the passer, and I think Bryce Young coming off the game that he just had, Tech McMillan is just going from strength to strength. I can see that happening with a lack of pressure. I could see the pass game developing, and look, Rico Dowdle's having a great season for the Carolina Panthers as well, so I could see it happening. I could see them putting up offensive production here, the Carolina Panthers against the 49ers. But Brock Purdy looks so good in his proper return back. After we were saying, I still think that I still don't think they get $50 million a year worth more production from Brock Purdy than they do from Mac Jones. But Brock Purdy makes the offense hum just a little bit more than Mac Jones does. Jay, with Brock Purdy back, are the 49ers NFC contenders for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but I think they would have been their contenders with Mac Jones. I don't think that's the key. Yeah. And then I think we give Brock Purdy a lot of credit for beating Arizona, which
yeah,
I don't know. I think that the strength of the 49ers has always been play solid defense, run the game through Christian McCaffrey, and then take shots down the field. I think Mac Jones can do that also. So I'm not sure that this is just a Brock Purdy thing. I think it's a Kyle Shanahan thing.
I think George Kittle being back and healthy is such a huge thing for the 49ers as well. It allows them to do a lot.
Yeah, their run game, if you look, they pull Juszczyk and Kittle like they're fucking guards. They pull them like they're guards to the other side. So they line up strong on the right, but then by time the running back makes his cut back to the left, they're already to the left side picking up blocks downfield. and I wish we could show highlights on this show because it costs like $4 million a year to show highlights, literally. But like there is some plays where if you watch Kittle and Juszczyk come across, that's when Christian McCaffrey has the whole field to his disposal. And as good as Christian McCaffrey is at a lot of things, his vision is what makes him elite. So like when Kittle and Juszczyk are on, they're great. If you look, when they were really struggling this year, both of those guys were injured.
Yeah, and they run so many wrinkles off that same style of play as well, because both Juszczyk and Kittle can get down the field as well. So if you're a linebacker, you have to get up there and play them because you need to stop Christian McCaffrey. But if they just skip past you and it goes out into the pass game, then they're wide open as well. And they're like George Kittle is a huge yak player as well. Like that wrinkle is just insanely difficult to play against them. We'll see what the Panthers can do. I wouldn't bet this game, Jay, but I'm taking the Carolina Panthers at plus 7.5 in this one because I think they're feisty and they'll keep it close. Who have you got?
Well, because you're wrong, I'm taking the 49ers minus the 7.5. And there is something about those Iowa tight ends. So you just watch George Kittle go off today.
Yeah, nice for us to have a disagreement by the end of the show on that one. But who knows? Maybe we'll both have a huge week.
It'll end up in a tie
at the moment as well. Yeah, maybe. Jay, what we now need to do, we have 5 minutes before kickoff. We need people to sort out their fantasy lineups. Jay, who are your fantasy players to watch? Who are your must plays? Who have you got?
Okay, so I know that he's only being started right now in 70% of teams. Breece Hall is going to have a big game because Tyrod Taylor is going to make all the difference to make sure that they can't play 8 and 9 in the box the whole game. It is going to be a different type of relief for Breece Hall. Give me Breece Hall for the fantasy player to watch this week.
Yeah, and I think Breece Hall will be much quicker into the check down as well, so you should get some good receiving stats from Breece Hall too. Jay, you guys out there, if you are worrying about Tyler Warren, you shouldn't be. I've noticed he seems to have dropped in his starts because he's going up against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs allow 28th in yards allowed to tight ends. They allow so many yards to tight ends because linebacker is their weak position in their defense. So go for the tight ends. And guys, before the trade deadline, he's already been mentioned on this podcast. Go pick up Bucky Irving or go pick up Trey Benson. Trey Benson is probably a free agent in your league, and Bucky Irving will be up on a trade low as well before they come back next week.
Also, just a do not touch. If you have Calvin Austin, do not play him this week. The reason he's been getting points is because Aaron Rodgers loves that slot guy, and you will not see that this week. So there is an extra sit-em for you.
We should do next year. We should beef out the fantasy things. Start them, sit them, do them on the Thursday night as one of our big sections that we do on the Thursday, because I think people like this. So if you guys like that and you like our suggestions, make sure to put it in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. We are 3 minutes out from week 12 Sunday. Jay, do you want to send us out into the Sunday like you always do?
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We will be on Tuesday instead of Thursday because of Thanksgiving this week. So you don't miss us. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe because we have a bunch of shows. And if you hit the notification button, you won't have to worry about missing anything. Look at me. I'm a problem solver. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.